So Jefferson has beaten the current president, John Adams, who is attempting a second term in the election of 1800.
This effectively made the Federalist Party the minority in Congress.
For the first time in the history of the United States of America.
Adams and the Federalists were afraid of drastic changes that could be made when they left their offices to the will of the Democratic Republicans,
who would take over the government with the new president.
They were afraid of losing their grip.
So on the last night Adams had in office, before Jefferson formally took charge,
the Federalists were scrambling to write up a new law, creating 16 new federal judgeships and other judicial offices.
Ideally, they tried to empower more Federalists the day before they would leave.
Marbury was one of those judges.
Unfortunately, the newly elected Democratic Republic Congress and the new Secretary of State James Madison kicked out all of the judges.
And he repealed the law as soon as he could.
Madison also cut their pay, including Marbury's.
However, Supreme Court Chief Justice John Marshall was the only Federalist left untouched.
Marbury, one of those 16 midnight judges, sued Madison for his commission to be a judge and his money.
Marbury was a little scuppered, to say the least, but what should he do?
He wanted to get his fellow Federalists back into office, but also did not want to be expelled by the new Democratic Republicans in power.
Marshall found a loophole.
The part of the Judiciary Act of 1789, which was the entire basis of Marbury's legal argument, was unconstitutional.
The act had attempted to give Supreme Court powers that the Constitution had not foreseen.
The act stated that the Supreme Court could issue a mandate in order for the other branches to do something.
This effectively gave them power over the other branches.
Marbury's idea is that he could have Marshall
issue one of these mandates, commanding the Federalists to let him back in.
This went against the Constitution, so Marshall declared that part of the act unconstitutional and invalid.
In the end, the court ruled that Marbury had the right to his job that was taken away.
But the court didn't have the authority to make Madison give Marbury his job.
Unfortunately, this wasn't the end of it.
The importance of this case is not whether this man got his job back, but why he couldn't and who decided that reason why.
This decision showed that the Supreme Court
had the absolute final authority in determining the meaning of the Constitution.
And this is where we got the idea of judicial review.
Judicial review is the idea of having Supreme Court judges decide whether or not a law or statute is constitutional.
The Supreme Court justices of the United States of America are the ones who determine whether or not something is unconstitutional.
Since Marbury versus Madison, the Supreme Court has continued their practice of judicial review.
And the Supreme Court remains the supreme law of the land.